Actually, I think there is. And so, for example, I think about the Enough Act, where I remember when we were first having this, having this conversation around, we need to make sure we're addressing the issue of childhood poverty and concentrated childhood poverty. And there was a few things that were really important, I think, in terms of helping to get it passed. And first, let me say, shout out to our team in the state of Maryland around it. Many of them were trained here, by the way. But initially, when we were talking about it, people were basically like, "Oh yeah, you mean Baltimore?" It's like, no, I don't just mean Baltimore, guys. I mean, if you look at the map of Maryland, there was really two heartbreaking things. And if you looked at the map of where child poverty exists in the state of Maryland, one was that if you looked at the map in 2023, it looked exactly the same as the map in 2013, and exactly the map in 2003. It's the same communities. The only difference is the red areas are gotten redder, right? The other thing that we show when you look at the map of child poverty in Maryland is it's everywhere. It's not just in Baltimore. It's everywhere in the state of Maryland, urban, rural, and suburban. And so we really had to highlight that when we were talking about enough, that enough wasn't just about, urban poverty. Enough was urban, rural, suburban. And it was very intentional that if you look at where our enough communities are laid out, it's 27 different communities across the state of Maryland. And from communities from Western Maryland to the Eastern Shore to everywhere between. And in many cases, if you're looking at the challenges that our communities in the Eastern Shore were dealing with, they are actually in many ways even more distinct because there's less resources and less support systems. Like, what does it look like when we're trying to address the issue of childhood poverty? Part of the reason that we've done so much work, we've invested in the first hospital in the Eastern Shore, the University of Maryland Regional Shore Hospital, that the Eastern Shore is going to cover down on 6 different jurisdictions, that the Eastern Shore has now had in 2 generations, first hospital that's been built out, because not even to get specialized care, to get basic care, you literally had to travel upwards of an hour and a half to 2 hours to get basic care, to be out there. That we had, if you look at broadband access, the reason we focus on broadband access to now in Maryland, we are 99.5% of our state is now fully covered in broadband access. We will have the entire state covered by 2027. It is a pledge that we made because, you know what having broadband access now does? It then opens up the access to things like telehealth and educational supports. And so the reason I say that, and the reason I bring that up is just for this reason, that some of the greatest champions that we had for enough were actually rural lawmakers who said, I like this, and this is going to help my community. And the reason is because they saw, but we had to make the case. This is not just helping Baltimore. It's helping my community too.
When you say Baltimore and urban.
Yeah, there's a very coded air quotes that I'm going out. Yeah.
Is some of the project for getting more Republicans on board about making clear that this is not only about non-white communities?
Yes, 100%. Because listen, and I think there is this there's this deep and dark narrative, and frankly deep and dark history in our state and in this country about what poverty looks like, who the takers are, who are the ones that consistently, are asking. And so there is no doubt, and I don't think anybody can argue, that oftentimes when we're having this conversation about what does it mean to have sustainable economic mobility and build, that it's coded. And I think that it was one of the things that we really wanted to address with Enough as well. And part of the reason that Enough wasn't, part of the reason I think the beauty of the model is that it's not top down, is what we're also doing is highlighting to all of our communities and neighborhoods that our communities don't need us to come save them. Right? We're not the white knights who are just coming in and freeing you all of your, lifting the veil of ignorance over your eyes. We're not there to save our communities. We're trying to stop punishing them We're trying to stop putting policies that are hurting them. Because that, in many cases, is what our communities are continuing to deal with. Again, urban, rural, and suburban communities. That these are the communities that have been left behind. These are the communities that have not been a part of the conversation. That they have been subjects of the conversation, but they've never been a part of the conversation. And so I do think that part of this work is it's not just about the work that we're doing to uplift communities, uplift neighborhoods, but frankly, it's frankly to remove this veil of ignorance that society oftentimes happens about who are the deserving poor and who are the ones that need and deserve support.